Go.
Good evening and welcome to our show, Brookfield Public Advocate. I'm your host, Bruce Senig. Tonight's guest is Cheryl Reedy. She's the director of the HRRA, the Housatonic Resources Recovery Authority. First, a little background on Cheryl. In addition to her current role at the HRRA, where she's been for 6 years, she had previously served as New Fairfield's first selectman for 12 years. She'd worked as the district director for James Maloney, the congressman, and operated her own grant writing business. For more than 25 years, she's written a regular column for the New Fairfield Citizen News. She holds a PhD in political science from the University of Minnesota and has taught at Michigan State, Fairfield University, Vassar College, and Western Connecticut State University here in Danbury. Cheryl, welcome to our show and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Bruce.
I've lived in Brookfield for 6 years and have weekly garbage pickup, but up to now I've only been able to recycle newspapers, corrugated cardboard, cans, bottles, and number 1 and number 2 plastics. Would you please tell the audience what is single stream recycling and how is it different from the way we've been doing recycling here in Brookfield?
Single stream recycling is a way of, it describes a way that residents prepare their recycling for collection. It means that you can put everything that is available for recycling in your region into one container. So the items that you've been able to recycle, you've had to put your bottles, cans, glass, plastic into a blue bag or a clear bag. You've had to bundle your newspaper, cut your cardboard up, bundle that, bundle your magazines and catalogs. It's more work than most people want to do. So single stream recycling is a way that you can just put everything in one container. And in our region, that can be either a blue bag, a clear bag, a recycling bin, a large toter, yes.
Blue bag or a clear bag.
Whatever your hauler can accommodate. You know, some haulers have 2 separate trucks, one for recycling, one for their garbage. Other haulers have 1 truck with lots of bins on the side and space overhead. And so they need you to do bags as opposed to loose. But however your hauler is set up to handle the material, it can now all go together. So there's no more buying twine, tying, cutting, and so forth. In addition, when we switched from what we used to do is called in the recycling business dual stream, basically your paper products bundled separately from your bottles and cans. Single stream is everything all together. When we made the switch from dual stream to single stream, the place where our recycling is going to be processed now is able to handle and has markets for many more items than what we used to be able to recycle. So not only can you now combine everything easily in one container, but we've been able to add items that you weren't able to recycle before.
And speaking of those items, can you tell the audience what some additional items are that we can do now?
Sure. Probably the one I get called about the most, or I used to before we started the single stream program, was the plastics. We used to be able to do only 1s and 2s. Now people can recycle any plastic that has one of the recycling symbols on it, 1 to 7. Mm-hmm. So the yogurt containers, cottage cheese, sour cream, the clam shells that you get sandwiches in at the deli or McDonald's or whatever, those sorts of things can now go into your recycling.
The clam shells, like the plastic, or not the styrofoam?
The plastic and the styrofoam does have it is recyclable.
Terrific.
We ask that what we can accommodate in the single stream program is the usual and typical amount of styrofoam that a household would produce. We have people in this region who have been storing up styrofoam for 15 years in big bags in their garage in the hopes that at some point they're going to be able to recycle it. And what I've told those people who have called is, don't put 15 bags out for your haulers of just styrofoam, but you can start slowly feeding it into the mix, because the value of those recyclables depends on having the right mix, and if we get too much styrofoam in them, it's going to cause problems. In addition to the plastics, though, things like material that's called fiberboard, chipboard, boxboard, which is your cereal boxes, cracker boxes, shoe boxes, clean pizza boxes, all of those items that weren't corrugated.
My oatmeal box.
Exactly. And when you look at your garbage, I think you'll be amazed at how much of that there is in garbage before we had single-stream recycling available. Egg cartons, aseptic packaging, which would be paper milk cartons, juice boxes, things like that.
Something like this soup container.
Exactly, that broth container. We also are now able to do household mail, junk mail, greeting cards, soft cover books, hard cover books, phone books, almost any kind of paper product that you can cut with a pair of scissors can now go into your single stream recycling. Really? So it's quite an expansion of material.
Well, with the single stream recycling, after it's collected, where does it go? How does it actually get recycled?
Good question. For the hauler that you have been using since, there is one hauler, I do want to say there is a hauler who has collected in Brookfield for several years who was using single stream before. So some Brookfield residents may already be used to that. And that particular hauler took their material to their own facility in Berlin, Connecticut to sort it and process it. And that wasn't something that was open to the other. We have 69 permitted haulers in this region, so it was something that wasn't open to the other 68. Gee. So the program that we've announced in the last couple of months is something that is now open to every hauler who is permitted to collect in this region. So when they pick up from your house, it's going to go to the Regional Recycling Center on White Street in Danbury. And under the dual stream program, we had equipment down there that could sort and bale the fiber separate from the bottles and cans. Single stream recycling equipment is much more complicated, much more expensive. It's multi-million dollars investment. So what we're doing at the regional recycling facility is just transferring. So your hauler will come in, they'll tip your recycling, it'll get scooped up, put into a big container, and then it's going to go off to one of three places right now. Actually one of four places. It might go to Willimantic, Connecticut, where there's a single stream processing plant. It might go to Berlin, Connecticut, where there's a single stream processing plant. It might go to Newburgh, New York, where there's a company over there that processes especially plastics and other single stream items. And it might go to a facility in New Jersey, actually. It depends on the mix of the material and quite honestly, who's paying the most? The company that manages the regional recycling facility is going to sell our loads to whoever in the market is paying the most. Then the equipment for single stream processing, as I said, is really complicated, and it goes through, there's magnets to pull out everything that will stick to a magnet. There are little puffs of air that puff away the plastic. There are manual pick lines, first right at the beginning, to pull out things that obviously don't belong there and that will obviously jam up the machine. And then there are manual pick lines at the end of the entire process where whatever hasn't gotten put in the right
somewhere
thing automatically, human beings can actually take it out and put it in the right place. And so it's all separated and then sold into the commodity market to be made into new products. One thing that's really important for everybody to remember, we think of recycling as taking some things out of our trash and putting it at the curb. But recycling doesn't really occur until we get that material to some place that can process it, somebody wants to buy it, and it's made into a product that we want to buy back. If somewhere along that chain the material becomes contaminated and ends up in the garbage, we've just engaged in a very expensive garbage disposal process, not recycling. So we have worked very hard to make sure that each piece of the chain is working as it's supposed to be, and that we can eventually buy back those products made with the things that we recycle.
And talking about the contamination, very important that all of these items that should be washed are washed.
Yes. They don't have to be scrubbed, but there should be no food waste on them, and they at least need to be rinsed. Peanut butter jars are an issue, mayonnaise jars are an issue. For me personally, if I'm doing a load in a dishwasher, I stick my peanut butter jar in there so that I can just get it. I can use the same amount of water I'm going to use anyway. But the pizza boxes, for example, you know how there's a piece of paper usually under there that's got cheese and goo stuck to it.
Right.
Pull that out. First of all, when it sits in your house, it's not going to attract insects or smells that you don't want to have. And second of all, it won't have to be pulled out at a plant, and it will make our recycling more valuable.
Yeah. Now, I've been doing the recycling. As I say, I have trash pickup on a weekly basis. I do have a few neighbors, however, that don't have a private hauler for their garbage. Are they eligible for single stream recycling?
Absolutely. If a resident of Brookfield right now who chooses not to contract with a private hauler can take their both their garbage and their recycling and bulky waste and other sorts of things up to the New Milford Recycle Center. There's an agreement between the town of Brookfield, the town of New Milford, and the town of Sherman, as a matter of fact, that both of those other communities can use the New Milford Recycle Center. And the New Milford Recycle Center in the past week has switched to single stream recycling. So they will accept the single stream product that you bring in and put in their containers there. So absolutely, whether you contract with a hauler or you take your own material up to New Milford, you can do the single stream.
Is there any kind of criteria that I should be using to determine which trash hauler I should choose to pick up recycling, or do they all pick up recycling?